Hi everyone! Welcome to an extra special episode of Noodle Journey. The channel just hit the 200 subscriber mark, and while I know that's not a huge number in the grand scheme of things, it is still more than I ever thought I'd get with this silly little hobby, and I want you all to know that I appreciate each and every one of you and your support. So to celebrate this milestone, I've been saving this review for a special occasion, just like this one. We are going to look at Happy Snail Liuzhou Snail Rice Noodles. Yes, snail rice noodles. So first off, this is a doozy of a package, I gotta tell you. This is huge because there is a ton of stuff in here. This brand slash company, Happy Snail, you might also see called Huan if you want to buy these online. They have a lot of various snail-based instant noodle products. As near as I can tell, the Happy Snail branding seems to be an export to English-speaking markets. This particular one is the most basic of their river snail offerings, with the other varieties containing even more mix-in packets and having larger product weights. I figured I would start here to see if I like this kind of soup, which, by the way, is called Liuzhou in China. So, according to the internet, Liuzhou is pretty popular in China, specifically in the city of Liuzhou, where snails are harvested from the river and shelled to make this broth, which is mixed with rice noodles of a particularly slippery texture, and at some point there's some fermentation that takes place. And then it's served with all kinds of good toppings, some of which we'll see in this package. Lots of people on the internet say that this is not exactly a flavor that a quote-unquote Western palate is used to, because it's supposed to be a little funky in smell. Some articles and other reviewers have sensationalized this to the point of calling it the stinkiest soup in the world, which I guess we'll see. But I have eaten snails before, both in French and Italian cuisine, and so I'm not about to let this bag of noodles intimidate me. If you want to try this yourself, you can find this for around $4 to $5 at your local Asian market, or online at yamibuy.com for about the same price. It is on the pricey side, but this is a big bag of goodies. In particular, if you live in the greater Philadelphia area, there's a small chain of Asian supermarkets called Huan that stocks these, and they frequently go on sale for like $3. So, one thing I want to point out with this package, this is not a typo, 6,300 milligrams of sodium in one serving. That is 270% of your daily allowance. This is by far the highest sodium in a single serving I have ever seen, so please do not buy this if you have adverse reactions to sodium, and maybe don't drink all of the broth in either case. So let's open this bag and see what's inside. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and I'm really glad I have a wide-angle lens. We've got a bag of rice noodles to start with, and these are special rice noodles made with cornstarch. I assume that helps give it the texture that Liuzhou is supposed to have. There's a bag with concentrated soup base, and yes, this isn't some artificial flavoring, there is actual snail in this, along with some spices, green onion, garlic, ginger, and bean paste. We've got a bag of pickled radishes and cowpeas. There's a bag of pickled bamboo shoots, which from my research seems to take most of the blame for the allegedly offensive odor. There's a chili oil bag, self-explanatory. This one contains fried peanuts and yuba, which is basically a dried, thin soybean tofu curd. And then a vinegar bag, which also contains garlic and salt. So 7 bags of stuff in this. There's an adage I've seen in noodle discussion groups that the more bags in your noodle package, the better it is. So I guess we'll see if that's true. There's 2 suggested cooking methods on this package. The first one treats it like a soup, which seems to be the more authentic method, and the other uses half the soup packet to create more of a sauce. I'm going to go for the first method to get it in its soup form, and if this is good, maybe we can buy another one of these and try the sauce method another day. If you buy these, know that these take a little while to cook and have a couple stages, so 12 minutes of boiling total. Make sure you have some time set aside because this is not as quick as other instant noodle products. So I'm going to go cook the noodles in soup base, and through the magic of editing, I will be right back to start garnishing. And we're back. Now, this is the point where I am supposed to add garnishes. You're supposed to add everything according to your taste, but I have never had these before, so I am just going to put everything in. And I apologize if I don't make it pretty because I am a slob. However, I think I want to try this as is before I add stuff. Just the broth for right now, just so I can get an idea of what the snail broth flavor is on its own. So let's try that real quick. Okay, on its own, before I add any of this other stuff in, the basic broth, assuming you don't like any of this other stuff, and you just want to have this as a comforting bowl of snail noodles without any goodies, it's got a very nice flavor. If I had to describe this, which I do because I'm reviewing it, it tastes like somebody mixed hoisin sauce with something seafoody like a clam or a mussel. To me, the couple times I've had snails, they remind me flavor-wise of clams or mussels. They're kind of in the same ballpark there. Hoisin sauce, if you've never had it before, is a Chinese sauce that's usually got 5-spice and some brown sugar, and it's a thick condiment or cooking sauce. There's definitely Chinese 5-spice in this. I can taste it pretty well. It's not an overbearing amount. It actually is pretty good. It works very well with that kind of clammy snail flavor. And I am excited to try all of this stuff mixed in with this now. So that's the basic soup. Let's just start putting in garnishes. I think I'll start with the chili oil. I guess I should say, now that I poured the chili oil in, the basic broth itself is not spicy any more than regular hoisin sauce is. I know I keep calling it hoisin sauce. I don't know if that's actually what it is. That's just what it tastes like. All right, next in, let's do the vinegar. That's vinegar. All right, next let's try the bamboo shoots. This is what everybody says causes the stinky flavor of this soup. I'm really curious to know if that's the case. And of course I just splashed it all over my arm as I opened it. I'm gonna give this a whiff real fast. I'm looking forward to this. Internet, you've let me down. This smells like a pack of pickled vegetables. There's nothing funky or malodorous about it. It smells really good, honestly. I'm just going to pour these in. Obviously, we're going to have to separate them once everything is mixed together here. All right, pickled cowpeas and radishes. You know what? Let's smell this too. Smells like pickled vegetables. Nothing offensive here at all, folks. Not so far. Just kind of plunks in there. That's not very appetizing, but of course we're going to separate this and stir it up as we go. All right, and lastly, the peanuts and yuba. Word of advice, I needed to go grab scissors to open this pack. It's very difficult to pull at the seams because there's a lot of air in it. Smells good. Smells like roasted peanuts. All right, I'm going to do my best to stir this up, try to separate out these bamboo shoots. Oh, that was pretty easy. They were stuck together, but they weren't like attached to each other. Let's try the same thing with these. Yep, same idea. And let's stir this all up. Once again, let me reiterate, there is nothing I find offensive about this smell, but I guess some people smell things differently, so this might offend you. It does not offend me. All right, I think everything is stirred up well enough, so let's give this a proper taste. Oh, hey, there's some wood ear mushrooms in here too. That's cool. Okay. I think I've gotten a bite of every single component in here. And let's start talking about all the stuff in here and what it tastes like. As expected, the texture of the noodles is really slippery, almost slimy. That is intentional. I could almost see some folks who have food sensory issues having a hard time with this. Personally, I really like the texture. The noodle is terrifically chewy and a perfect thickness. The slipperiness also helps the noodles not clump together at all, which is always a worry, especially with rice noodles. I really like these. They remind me, texture-wise, of buttered spaghetti in a good way, but I think the texture might not be for everyone, so I am cautiously giving these noodles a 9 out of 10. I think they're great. So now the spiciness. Well, my nose is currently running. That chili oil is very spicy. I don't regret putting it all in here because we're still not talking about, you know, the hottest of the hot. But this is definitely tingling my lips. It's tingling the back of my throat. I think it might be as hot as some of the hottest noodles I've tried on this channel. Not quite the 2X Samyang Buldak, but it's up there. The great part about this is you control how much of the spice you want in here. So if you didn't want any of that chili oil, you don't have to put it in at all. Based on how tingly my lips are getting right now, I'm going to say with the entirety of the chili oil packet, this is a 7 out of 10 for spice. It is making my nose run. There is quite a bit of it. It is a good spice, but it is hot. And now for the flavor and the overall score. So I told you at the beginning what I think this tastes like. Very much reminiscent of a Chinese hoisin sauce, which is to say there is a gingery Chinese 5-spice flavor to this, along with the kind of clammy snail taste. And I like that very much. This is up there with some of the best seafood broths I've ever had, in my opinion. I know 5-spice isn't for everybody. Rest assured it is not overpowering. It blends very well with the other flavors going on in here. Not really getting any garlic, even though it's in the ingredients. Having put in the vinegar pouch, added a nice acidity to it that balances out the sweetness of whatever else was in this soup base. There is bean paste in here. Not very earthy tasting, so don't worry about that if that bothers you. And these garnishes are all fantastic. I really like this yuba, basically crispy tofu. The peanuts are great. The pickled vegetables are all great. I think I picked out at least one of every single one of them, and they all taste wonderful, including the supposedly stinky bamboo shoots. I think if I were to do this again, I might not use the entirety of the chili oil packet. I might not use the entirety of the vinegar packet, but I can't say that there's anything in here that's not working well with the taste of the broth. I very much like this. I'm very happy that I bought this. I'm very happy that I tried this. And I think this is one of those things that might be good as like a super special treat every once in a while, but not necessarily a regular purchase just because of how rich and, of course, sodium heavy and spicy this is. So I have to give this an overall score. I'm going to ignore the ridiculous amount of sodium in here because if I judged all instant noodle products by their nutritional value, there would be very little for me to recommend. So, bearing in mind that you should absolutely avoid these if you are intolerant of sodium, my overall score of this is a 9.5 out of 10. Delicious. Really good stuff. So there you have it, my first taste of snail noodle soup. I am very impressed by how tasty this is. Because of the sodium level, like I was talking about, I can't really say this is something you'll want to eat on the regular, but this is a massive meal in a bag, and so it wouldn't hurt to maybe have 1 or 2 in the pantry as a special treat every few months. There's so much incredible flavor going on here, and because all of those garnish bags are separate, you can skip the stuff you might not like and customize this to your heart's content. So don't let the internet scare you off with talk about the smell, because this all tastes amazing, and this is like nothing I've ever had before. So if you're adventurous enough, if the thought of eating snails doesn't gross you out, I highly recommend seeking out a pack of this or one of Happy Snail's other varieties and trying it for yourself. So now that I know that this is some top-notch stuff, I will eventually be seeking out other snail noodles to review in the future. One of my viewers recommended a long time ago the brown Luboang, and so those will probably be the next ones if I can find them. I'm pretty sure I saw them at my store recently. In the meantime, how do you feel about eating snail soup? Would you try this? Have you tried this? Please leave me some comments. I'd love to hear about your experiences and personal tastes. If you're one of my 200 plus subscribers, thanks once again. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and we'll see what kind of crazy stuff I can find when I hit my next subscriber milestone. And so with that, I hope to see you on the next episode of Noodle Journey.